Thank you for the reminder.
So folks, I'm going to start the meeting. I just want to let everybody know that we have a short pre-program tonight to honor the 215 children that were discovered in Kamloops from the residential school. So first I will read the land acknowledgement that we have. We would like to begin by acknowledging the Indigenous peoples of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Inuit, Métis, and First Nations peoples and their cultures and rights. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nation peoples that call this land home. I'll now ask Brenda Taylor, co-chair of our district HIP committee, to read our statement for zones 28 and 32.
So we'd like to extend our deep condolences and sympathies to the Secwepemc First Nation on the discovery of 215 children on the site of a former residential school in Kamloops, British Columbia. The discovery of these children is a powerful yet painful reminder of our past. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission research indicates that at least 3,213 children are reported to have died over 140 years of operation at over 150 residential school locations. No words can describe the scale of pain and trauma that First Nations people have and are experiencing at this moment. June is a National Indigenous History Month. We ask that you support this national time of mourning to honor these children. HIP, Honoring Indigenous People, is asking everyone to wear orange. Let's walk together and show our support. May we all keep this part of our history as a reminder and a beacon in front of us as we work with our Rotary ideals to bring peace and equity to all.
Thank you. We'd now like to show a video of Eddie Charlie and his relationship with the growing up in a residential school. So Susan, if you would show that video, please.
Okay, just a moment. It's just giving me a bit of technical difficulty here.
All right. And if everybody would mute themselves, of course, and put yourselves on speaker view so that you will see the full video.
We haven't got any volume.
No sound, Susan.
Away from their homes, possibly when they were very young. So Orange Shirt Day is this one opportunity when everybody can come together to reclaim their identity and their lost traditions. Now, I think you have to look at our spirits much the same way as a river. If you throw something that's no good into the river, it touches everything down along the way. And we've been contaminated by hate, pain, and aggression. And until we clean up that river, we'll always be stuck in that real bad place. If you want to participate in Orange Shirt Day, you need to listen to the stories of the survivors. I experienced enough pain to last me 3 lifetimes, and it's time for me to release some of that anger, some of that pain, by allowing people to see what's inside here so that they can understand what happened to 150,000 other children. This is why I think Orange Shirt Day is really important, because it gives us an opportunity to talk to people and show them that healing can happen. We're inspiring people to want to be a part of this movement, and not just Indigenous people, but the non-Indigenous community is starting to become aware of what happened to these 150,000 children. And healing will start real slow, but gradually when we start to learn to trust each other again, I think Orange Day will give us that opportunity to use our voices in an equal way again.
Could we have a moment of silence, of remembrance of the loss that families of these children experience and are experiencing, and of Charlie's important comment about we all need to trust each other. So a moment of silence, please. So now I would like to introduce our program for the evening. We have several people portraying different fellowships of Rotary. Of course, there are the fun fellowships that Lisa Cook will be telling us about, but there is also our important fellowships, the Peace Fellowships and our Paul Harris Fellowships. And as well, there are exchange programs and vocational training team exchanges. So all of them are important to us for sharing friendship and fellowship. And pretty soon, maybe we'll be able to actually travel to partake in some of these fellowships. But I hope that everybody will be muted. And it's a reminder that after each of the videos or presentations, if you have questions, you need to put them into the chat and they will be monitored and your question may be asked. But we don't have a lot of time, so we won't be taking very many questions. We just want to give you the overview of what is available. So first off, we're going to start with Lisa Cook. Lisa is from Rotary International, and she handles Rotary Fellowships. And she's going to talk about building international fellowships, friendships through Rotary. Lisa, we'll just play the video and then you can speak to it, or did you want to speak first?
Yeah, go ahead and show the video. That'll be great.
Okay, thank you.
If you think of what interests people have, there's a fellowship for it.
You share the same interest, you share the same hobby.
Photography is a fellowship, swimming is a fellowship. There's so many fellowships.
Within the last year or so, I've gained so much more Rotary friends through fellowship. The fellowship that I belong to is a cycling fellowship, and we're able to raise money for polio just by riding our bikes.
It's the fact of taking your passions, your hobbies, and making that into a service opportunity, into a social opportunity. We do learn to surf events for high school kids, beach cleanups, things like that. It's also attracted people who are into those types of events to seek out what is Rotary about.
Rotary Friendship Exchange is an opportunity for you to visit new places, learn about cultures.
To be received with warmth and friendship, that is the ultimate travel experience in my mind.
You get to connect with a family there that will show you around. You explore things you never thought you would explore.
And also sometimes integrating local projects. Friendship exchanges are open to anyone.
It's something you can do with your friends, your family, your kids. Better than a vacation. Hands down, best.
The great thing about a project fair is that it brings Rotarians from different parts of the world to one venue.
When they come, they are looking for projects that can help them to meet their club's goals.
The Rotary clubs offer different projects in different areas of focus.
The hosts put together project visits and other kind of tours.
People become friends, and friendship engenders trust.
The personal contact is the main purpose of a project fair?
ICC or intercountry committees are an important part for peace and friendship.
The intercountry committee operates between two countries.
And it's very important for Rotary to have this sort of experts to promote activities and relations between the two countries.
Projects are done by the clubs and not by the ICC, but they try to help them to do these projects.
Go beyond your borders and do your part to reach peace through service.
All right, thank you for playing that. I know it had a couple of other programs in there. One is the Friendship Exchange program, which I used to be in charge of as well. And I want to thank your district. You were one of the first to get on board with our new interactive map that allows more people to find you because you have your information there. And so I hope that's been helpful for your district. I saw a question about quilting, and we do. They are going, I think they're talking about a name change, but they're the Fiber Artist and Quilting Crew. I put a link in the chat for where a list of the fellowships can be found. There's also a PowerPoint that clubs can use to talk about fellowships. There is a flyer, and this video is also linked on there. We try to house everything you ever needed to know about fellowships on this website. So all the ones that want to become new fellowships, there's information there, and you'll find it. Every fellowship that is current is linked there, and that's how you find out more information about each single fellowship. I think the high level points is that, we have about 90 currently active. Usually most of them are either free to maybe $25 a month to join. So it's very, financially, it's not a big risk or big ask, I guess. One of the things that was updated in January 2020 that anybody can be a member. So we're hoping that allows, most people are Rotarians or Rotaractors, but we are opening in that membership up for the ability for people that may not know about Rotary yet, but maybe they're interested in, the Doctor's Fellowship or the Jazz Fellowship, that they'll have a chance to meet Rotarians and become, a part of the Rotary world. So I know we don't have a lot of time to spend, but anybody have any more questions?
Please put your questions in the chat if you have a question for Lisa. I think you explained it very well, Lisa, and of course, putting that link in there is very advantageous to everybody. So I'm sure there's a fellowship for everybody when there's almost 100. So thank you so much for joining us, and please feel free to stay on the call if you would like to. Thank you. So we're going to move from all of the fellowships into the Rotary Friendship Exchange. And I welcome Dave Bennet, who is our district chair of Rotary Friendship Exchange, to speak. And if people could have their views on speaker view, that would be beneficial.
Thank you, Gail Marie, and hello to Lisa. I've spoken to you on the phone a couple of times in past years. Nice to see you. And I'd like to comment about other people being able to join into those fellowships and so on. And that is also open for the Friendship Exchange. I'll mention that in a moment too. Anyway, at my background, I have been on a couple of teacher exchanges. I was a GSE leader. I've been on the VTT selection committee and hosted a couple of youth exchange students as well. So I've got a very good background in exchanges. One thing I'd add to the video, and it really says the same thing the video did, I asked all of the people that came back from my first year of exchanges, RFEs, what the best part of it was, and without a doubt, all of them said it was the people they met, the friendships they made. So that is the main purpose of all of it. I won't go through the detail. The district governor's newsletter that came out a couple of days ago lists our trips that we had and something about them and so on. It's also on the website. We're a little buried in the website. If you go to links way on the right-hand side and drop down the menu, you'll find Friendship Exchange. So you can get some information there. When I took it over about 3 years ago, it had been silent for a couple of years. And I was wondering how we'd promote this. And what I decided to do was to get a club contact in every club that I could communicate with and share information. And I could get some information because most of these people turned out to be past RFE people anyway. So that was good. I have 55 contacts in 36 clubs. There's about 10 clubs that aren't in. So if your club doesn't have one, check it out. You may like to be one. You can email me. Of course, I emailed to club presidents through Club Runner and those contacts through email. Not too much to tell them right now at all, so there hasn't been much going out. When there is a call for applications, it does go out through Club Runner to everybody. Every Rotarian that is on Club Runner would get that call and should know about it. Thought about it with the success of Zoom going now, that perhaps when we do open up and start to do something in 6 months, 8 months, whatever from now, maybe a Zoom meeting of anybody interested in RFE would be a good idea. So I'll talk to Dan Sutton about that. Okay, selection in the past was by first application in. My team decided not to do that, and we've been doing it by a random draw. It's a bit weighted in the sense that we've given we've given an advantage, preference to first timers. A number of people have been on 2 or 3 of these, and we just felt the first timers should have an advantage. So we weight the draw a little bit, but everybody that applies before the deadline is in the draw and has a chance to be part of the team. We do ask people to, if they've been on a trip, to wait for 2 years before they go on a. And in fact, with the Brazilian trip, there weren't that many applications, and there is a couple that is on that list right now that have been on the Australia trip the year before. What are the financial arrangements regarding this? Well, Rotary International suggests, they don't dictate at all. The agreement is between the 2 districts as to what you're going to do. But they suggest, and I fully supported it, and we did this, that the hosts, once you get there, of course, you pay your own way over to get there. And the hosts, once you're in their district, should pay for travel within the district. They should pay for any costs that are at a district or club level, like a meeting kind of thing. They're to be home hosted, so eating in homes would be absorbed by the hosts, of course. However, the guests should pay for their own travel, of course, to and from the district. Meals when eating out at a restaurant. If you bed and breakfast, you have breakfast in the morning, you go, you tour this or that, and it's a lunch out somewhere, you should be paying your own way there. Admissions to tours, boat rides, whatever. We had a float plane in Sioux Lookout. They took the India group on, and they paid for that plus their lunch for that day at that camp. Personal things, of course, you pay for yourself as well. That's the general thing about finances, and it's important, and myself, to make sure that the other district and our district are on the same page in regarding this. We had a bit of a problem regarding that with the India group, because they fully believe that they're hosting you. Like, that's it, they're paying for everything. Even though we made an agreement that it wouldn't be that way, when the team came home, that's what had happened. So we needed to do that at this end. And that became very difficult because the people that go over to a country aren't necessarily the same people that are going to host them. We had 3 trips going that year, 2 to Australia and 1 to one to India. And so we organized the returns into 3 separate areas of our district, particularly because of our large district, vast expanse and travel and so on. So that became a bit of a difficult problem for us to deal with. We dealt with it. I mentioned transportation as a difficulty. Hosting can be a bit of a difficulty because I needed to find clubs that didn't have anybody going out to become hosts. This can happen if you have 2 or 3 couples from one club going. Well, that doesn't give you 5 clubs for hosting in a sense. Also, with the distances between, a Nipawin, for example, volunteered there, hopefully still on the list should we get these teams going again. very small clubs, and I really appreciated that they did that. And there's been other small clubs that did too. I don't know with COVID coming just how it's going to be for hosting. People are going to be reticent, I think. Some won't be, but some will be. So that's something we're going to have to really work around. So that kind of brings me up to the end. I would suggest, I guess, talking about COVID and getting going again. I did find out from my Brazilian counterpart, who, by the way, had COVID and his whole family had COVID. He was on a ventilator. And I talked with him a week ago. And he told me that RI has indicated that there should be no trips before July of 2022, no exchanges. I don't have an official word on that, Lisa. Maybe you can help me out a little bit tonight, but I haven't had any communication. He seemed to indicate that that was what he knew. So there's that part of it. I also thought, well, I know people in Australia. I taught over there. And they've been very good with COVID. Like they've had no problem. They're wide open and everything. However, just in the last week to 10 days, they've had a variant come into the country and moved into Melbourne, and Melbourne is in lockdown. They're having 5 cases per day average, 5, and they are in lockdown. And lockdown to them means you don't go anywhere except for 2 hours of the day. So they really try to get on top of that. So I just wonder if, even a year, 2 years from now, you go somewhere and you haven't hit lockdown, you could be sitting in a motel or a hotel for your whole trip, perhaps. Something that we have to consider and think about, I suppose. So what I'm kind of suggesting is maybe for the next year, we look at something inside our own district. Perhaps a couple of couples from Nipawa might like to go to Saskatoon for the weekend, and a couple of couples in Saskatoon might like to host them. And then 2 or 3 weekends after that, just reverse the procedure. And while you're in there hosting with them, maybe they get a few of their Rotarian friends together for a barbecue or something like that. So there's a really nice, easy way to do a friendship exchange, and it doesn't cost too much either. And, I think once Canada's open, we'll be fairly, feel good. I mean, if there's a problem, you just drove home, so it wasn't a major problem. And then maybe, inside Canada or whatever. But anyway, I'll stop right now and throw it open if anybody has a question.
Do we owe a return trip experience to any of the districts from Australia?
Say that again, Fred, please.
Do we owe a return trip experience to any of the districts from Australia?
Technically, no, they canceled out. The one group never came back, but they postponed for 1 year, which would have been the 2020 year, and they canceled before COVID hit. So no, we do not.
Adam, you want to take the next question?
Yeah, sure. Should a friendship exchange applicant have the approval of their club due to the hosting expectations?
That is a very interesting question. I've always wondered that. Don't think it was done before I took this over, and I thought of putting it on the application form. We didn't do that, and we haven't had any major concerns. On the responsibilities list that I have posted and send out to everybody, it indicates that you are responsible for participating in the return exchange, either as a leader, organizer, host, whatever. There was a very good example of this. Gal from north of Winnipeg, I forget which club she was, Winnipeg West maybe, and she really couldn't host in the club she was in, see? So she arranged friends who I think were in fact past Rotarians to host for her, and she stayed there as well. So there was the couple from India, the couple that were hosting, and herself, 5 of them, and they had a great time, of course. So she got around it by doing that. But that's an interesting question. I'd like to hear some opinion on that.
David, I think we'll have to wait for another time for those opinions because we're trying to keep to a schedule here. But I
Sure.
did put David's email in the chat, and so anybody can contact him by email. I know that he's very happy to answer any and all questions and comments. So thank you, David, for what you're doing for us with Rotary Friendship Exchange, and hopefully we will be able to have some exchanges in the near future. Even within Canada, we could exchange from provinces that are far away from us. So now I would like to call upon David Newman. David Newman is the chair of World Peace Partners, and as such, he is also the chair of the Peace Fellowships Committee, and he's going to talk to us about Peace Fellowships. So David, welcome.
I'm here with a team. Welcome to them. Welcome to all of you. The Rotary Peace Fellowship program has been around for now since 2002, when the idea was created. And we've had now well over 1,000 people who have been transformed and become actively involved as peace builders through their work, through their volunteering, and simply as human beings through many parts of the world. Amazing, amazing program. And as this army of positive peace and peace literacy builders grows, the impact of Rotary will definitely be on the ground and more impactful. The team with me tonight is the subcommittee which I chair, which is the responsibility to encourage recruitment by clubs in the district of candidates for Rotary Peace Fellowships. And when they apply, and we are told they have applied and their application has been received, we then interview them. And the deadline for interviewing is July 1st. And the deadline for applications being filed is May 15th. So we're right in the middle of this now. And after May 31st, we were told that we had one candidate who happens to be from the city of Winnipeg and is an amazing candidate. Indeed, the candidate that applied last year and was told to reapply because he was such a successful presenter of himself through his application and through his support team. So we'll be doing that interview, and this interview will take place with the team of people, Tazir Sharif, who's on the interview team, my wife Brenda, whose picture replaces mine when I shut off my video, so you have some pleasant, smiling, good-looking face to look at rather than mine. And Eduardo da Costa, who is a candidate for his PhD in Peace and Conflict Resolution here at the University of Manitoba, is from Brazil, the Amazon rainforest. He has an indigenous background through his ancestry, and he was a Rotary Peace Fellow in Duke, North Carolina, and he's part of our interview team and has been for the last 3 years because he's been there and done that and is a wonderful person to have at the table. I want to say that the team with me, besides Tazir, is my wife Brenda. Eduardo couldn't participate tonight, but we have a Rotary Peace Fellow who went to Chula in 2019, Inspector Bonnie Emerson from the Winnipeg Police Service, who I'm going to ask questions of after she introduces herself. And let me introduce now Inspector Bonnie Emerson of the Winnipeg Police Service, a certificate recipient in her Peace and Conflict Resolution studies at Chulalongkorn University in Bangkok, Thailand. Bonnie.
Hello, everyone. My sound just went off, so I wasn't sure if you had introduced me. So I understand I have 4 minutes, and I just wanted to say hello. My name is Bonnie. When David started speaking and talked about the opportunity to be a Peace Fellow and how it transformed people's lives, I think I just wanted to share with you that that is 100% true and has been my experience. I am more of a storyteller, so I just wanted to share, my story. I didn't know a lot about Rotary. I grew up in Winnipeg. I grew up in the North End. I always considered myself an advocate and a community advocate involved in lots of volunteer work in Indigenous organizations in Winnipeg, and became a police officer because I believed that police officers were the peacekeepers. When I started applying and get promoted without the police service, I did it because I wanted to make a difference and make some changes, because we were just starting to realize at this time Canada's colonial past and sort of the effect not only on my family, but so many people in Winnipeg and so many of the families that I as a police officer have interacted with. And I wanted to make a difference. I also, for me, one of the most transformational changes about going to Chulalongkorn University was I recognized that as I was wanting to start make a difference at a system level, that there's a different language that people speak in academia and in systems. So I was I think, fairly proficient at operational, working in Indigenous organizations, connecting with other like-minded people. But when I was starting to connect with people higher up in government and systems, they were using different words and strategic messaging that was fairly new to me. And so David was familiar with the work and had interacted with my boss at work. I was a staff sergeant, and they suggested I apply. And I was like, why would a police officer from Winnipeg ever be chosen to go on an international exchange? I was like, I told my bosses at work, and I'm like, I said, this is a great opportunity and I'm going to apply, but it's really unlikely that it's ever going to happen. And so they let me. And then when I got it, they were like, yeah, I don't think we can let you go for 12 weeks. So we negotiated a bit, and they allowed me to go. I used some of my time, and the police service gave me back some time. That was 2.5 years ago. And since that time, I don't think that there's been a month that I haven't used or participated in either a global exchange, a national exchange. I'm on a CA, Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police Committee on police response to mass demonstration, protests, and rallies. Implementing measured approach to police response. My research study at Chula was Indigenous self-determination in Canada and the conflict with the government. The connections that I made with other police officers are still current today. We network. Just a month and a half ago, I participated in a youth exchange with students from Portland, Oregon, who wanted to learn about the justice system and what we were seeing in Canada. There's a fellow from Africa who is interested in emigrating to Canada. So we've been networking and help make that happen. And I'm moving forward local changes within the police service. And my partner and I started a nonprofit building beds for children. And David and Brenda were the first referrals through their contacts within one of the families in Winnipeg who just newly moved to Canada and needed some beds. The global world has really shrunk.
Bonnie, would you share, as you wrap, would you describe the position you hold in the Winnipeg Police Service and what the unit you work with does, and how the education you got and the contacts you made with other students, some of whom were police officers from other parts of the world, have helped you with your work?
So my current role is I'm the inspector of our community support division, which does the proactive outreach of the Winnipeg Police Service. So I oversee our school officers, cadets, Indigenous partnerships, diversity, and crime prevention. The second part of your question, David, was the international.
Yeah, your connections made internationally, does that help you with your work as well?
Yeah, it has. One of the things that we looked at is, as we're doing, the world has changed, as was noted. So much of what we're doing is virtual connections, but what happens globally has impacted how the police service is responding locally. So we've seen this with some global connections and national connections with as recently as what was happening in Palestine and Israel, and what that meant locally in a Winnipeg context. The world has shrunk, and yet we're seeing the response so far away here in Canada.
Okay, thank you so much, Bonnie. So please hang on. I'm just going to close because we have limited time here, but there's a master's program. There's 5 universities in the world, and those universities, one in USA, that's where Eduardo da Costa went, and that is Duke, North Carolina. There's one in Uppsala, Sweden. There is one in Japan, and there's another one in Queensland, Australia. And then there's one that Bonnie went to, Chulalongkorn in Bangkok, Thailand. It's a certificate program. There's a new one, relatively new one, Makerere, in Uganda, which is another certificate program. And there's a brand new one, which will be formulated. It's been funded by a generous benefactor, and that'll be positioned somewhere at in a university in the Middle East. So the numbers of students are 10 per center in the master's program, and that means 50 per year are funded entirely for a period of 15 to 24 months for a master's in peace and conflict resolution. And they have an internship as well, funded by the Rotary International. And the 3 certificate programs involve a lesser period of time, and they have 2 groups, 2 different sessions, up to 50 per year, 25 in each group. So Bonnie would have had approximately 25 people with her. The message I want to leave with you is identify candidates in your communities, candidates like Bonnie, and then certainly relate to the people that can free them up to take these opportunities. So that's their bosses. Now, the eligibility for the master's program is often a minimum of 3 years of relevant full-time work and a bachelor's degree. They want people to be active, practical peace builders, not to become necessarily academics. As a matter of fact, they want practitioners. The certificate program is ideal candidate is a minimum of 5 years of relevant full-time work and a strong academic background. And obviously, someone who, like Bonnie, can make a substantial impact, local to global, right from your own community. And with the team of problem solvers, peace builders that are forming this growing number of products of this amazing program, are making a difference in ways that are part of their job descriptions, part of their lives at home, part of their lives in the neighborhood, and part of their job description at work and as volunteers. So thank you very much for the time. If you want to learn more about this, if you have candidates, you can always contact myself, Tazir, Brenda. The position of this subcommittee is at Rotary District 5550 World Peace Partners, and our website is World Peace Partners at worldpeacepartners.org. So Rotary District 5550 worldpeacepartners.org. So contact us anytime. I encourage you to get involved in this program and find amazing candidates. You have one in Saskatoon who will be on a live streamed webinar tomorrow about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and his name is Rhett Sangster, and Rhett Sangster works with the Treaty Relations Commission in Saskatchewan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Bonnie. We really don't have time, but there's one question in the chat that is rather important, so I'm going to allow it. If Fred or Adam would read it out.
Robert Pearl, I'm sorry. Canadian Policing recognizes Robert Peel as the founder of modern community policing. Are you experiencing models from other parts of the world that address the need for policing services to be responsive and sensitive to community needs?
Yes, but I would actually say a lot of the Robert Peel's principle of community policing, a lot of the, well, it originated in England. A lot of what we would consider modern policing services use that. And I find that when we're looking at being responsive and sensitive to community needs, that what policing organizations are starting to do, and what I'm trying to do here, is decolonialize the system and go back to the Indigenous approaches, which is actually very responsive to community needs, as well as it's also consistent with Sir Peel's principles, but from an Indigenous lens.
Thank you very much, Bonnie. We greatly appreciated you joining us tonight, and very interesting background in your journey to being a Peace Fellow and a Peace Builder. Thank you so much. We now turn to our another of our fellowships, and that is the Paul Harris Fellowship. We're going to show a quick PowerPoint, and then Pat Trineski is on the call. If there are any questions or comments, please put them in the chat after the PowerPoint shows.
I can go ahead, Gail Marie?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah, this PowerPoint was produced by Gail Marie. Just a few short slides to remind us of the beginnings of Rotary and Paul Harris. So, as we all know, Paul Harris is our founder of our organization in 1905. Okay, next. And of course, these are the first 4 Rotarians that began our organization. Paul Harris on the right, and the other names are in the next slide. Paul Harris, Gustav Lohr, Sylvester Sheely, and Hiram Shorey. They gathered in Lohr's office for what would become known as the first Rotary Club meeting ever. Next. And Harry Ruggles was known as the 5th Rotarian, joined these businessmen as well for camaraderie and for service. And they each, as you can see, brought different professional perspectives to the organization. Paul, of course, was a lawyer, Lohr, a mining engineer, Shorey, a merchant tailor, Sheely, a coal dealer, and Ruggles, a commercial printer. Okay. Next. This, I'm not sure, Gail Marie, this is depicting a large gathering. I see some, mostly men, but some women there, I believe, probably the wives of the Rotarians there. And the next slide shows Rotary now. I imagine this was that was then, and this is now the Rotary Club of Nanaimo Daybreak. So a nice smattering of very casually relaxed people. I'm thinking 50% men, 50% women. Yeah. Okay. And next slide. Okay, and most of us know, I'm sure, that a Paul Harris Fellow, it's a recognition that is our foundation's way of expressing appreciation for a substantial contribution to its humanitarian and educational programs. Okay, next. I should say the contribution, of course, is US $1,000, and one achieves the Paul Harris recognition when your contribution accumulate $1,000 US. That can be done in one payment. It can be done over several years. But once you reach that $1,000, you are a Paul Harris Fellow. You probably heard also of the Paul Harris Society. It's a very different thing. This recognizes Rotary members and friends of Rotary Foundation who contribute US $1,000 or more every year to either the annual fund, it can be to Polio Plus, or an approved grant. And the difference is explained there. Now also, I should mention the Paul Harris Fellows. There are recognition points that one can get to become a Paul Harris Fellow. Once a Rotarian gains the recognition of Paul Harris Fellow and contributes further money to the foundation, he will work on a Paul Harris +1, and for each dollar given, 1 point will be earned by that Rotarian. And we can use points to award other folks, other members, a Paul Harris Fellow, or you can purchase a Paul Harris Fellow for another member. So there are a lot of different ways to get the recognition. I'd love to say now that we have 27 Paul Harris Society members in our district. 2 have recently joined within the past year, and these are very passionate people. They love the foundation, they're committed, and it's just great to have them. And I'll just say that, as you know, not everyone can be a Paul Harris Society member. You need to have the passion, you need to have capacity, and so on. So we all in Rotary give as we can and as we are able to support the cause. Okay, next. So again, thank you to everybody for your passion and contributions to our foundation, and to our Paul Harris Society members for stepping on board. So yeah, okay.
Thank you very much, Pat. I do not see any questions in the chat. So I think that you'd explained it all very well. And of course, you just want to encourage people to become Paul Harris Fellows. So thank you for your participation tonight. We have one more program to highlight, and that is the Ripple Effect. Now, the Ripple Effect isn't exactly an exchange, although there is a committee in Canada as well as a committee in Guatemala. But as we all know, Deb and Gordon Meister go every year, except for COVID, to Guatemala to view the projects and to look at new projects for Ripple Effect. And they welcome people to go along with them on a tour. So this is a video that Elaine Thompson made when they made the tour with Deb and Gordon Meister and a few other Rotarians that you'll recognize. So we're going to play that video right now, Susan. Thank you.
Ed and I and the Taylors joined the LeMaisters in October 2019 for 6 days of their annual 3-week Guatemala tour of Ripple Effect projects. Marion Kettlewell and her friend Arlene joined us for 1 day. This map shows the 6-day route we took, starting at Guatemala City on the right, where we visited Fonsepa and Granada School, then to Panajachel in the middle, from where we visited the university in nearby Solola, on to Retalulu to visit 3 Ripple Effect school projects, then to Cotopequi to visit 2 more schools. Our return trip to Guatemala City took us through Quetzaltenango, where we dropped off the LeMaisters to continue with their work. Our first stop was Fonsepa in Guatemala City. It's a non-profit organization that collects, repairs, and repurposes old computers and donates them to Guatemalan schools. It's a server that goes with information that's related to schools' education programs, plus 16 computers for students to use, with no Wi-Fi needed. In the first 5 years, Fonsepa had provided 45 schools with 1 server and 16 computers, a total of 765 computers repurposed. In addition, Fonsepa trained nearly 7,500 girls, 6,500 boys, and 578 teachers on how to use those computers. This was the work area where the computers were being repurposed, then sent out to the schools. The first school we visited was Granados. It's a girls' school that's been operating in Guatemala City for over 100 years. Granados School has 2 floors of classrooms and an attractive playground. We visited their computer room, and the regular classroom. It was Rotary Club President Diana Brown and Diana's husband who had driven us to Fonsepa and then on to Granada School. We were picked up by a chauffeured van at Granada School and driven to Panajachel. By then it had started raining. It was still the rainy season in Guatemala when we were there. We made a stop at Katok to meet up with Gordon Debla-Meister. They'd been visiting another school in the Katok area while we were visiting Fonsepa and Granada School in Guatemala City with the local Rotarians. And we had some lunch. Brenda Taylor ordered taco chips and dip for her lunch, and it arrived in this incredible serving piece at Katok Restaurant. From Katok, I rode shotgun, which means I was in the passenger seat beside the driver, and took a video of the countryside in the rain as we headed for Panajachel. We arrived that evening at Panajachel's Hotel Jardin de Lago, garden hotel on the lake. Its elevation is almost a mile above sea level. On Saturday morning, this was the peaceful scene of Lake Atitlan that greeted us. 84,000 years ago, the lake area was a massive volcanic crater. I walked over to the lake shore and looked around. This was one of several gardens that were located between the hotel and the lake. After breakfast, we were driven to the university located in nearby Solola to meet the 5 recipients of Ripple Effect scholarships. At this meeting, the university president, the director of academic quality, and the 5 students all expressed their appreciation for the Ripple Effect scholarships. The president also gave a report on how well the students had done in their exams, and the students told us what they were currently doing. 4 of the scholarship recipients in the front row wearing traditional Mayan dress had completed their first year of an education degree, were working full-time and attending university classes every Saturday for 10 months of the year. The 5th recipient, Brenda Lopez, in the second row, already had bachelor and master's degrees in education and was in her first year of a PhD program in the Faculty of Education. On our way back to our hotel in Panajachel, we stopped at a scenic location and Ed took this group picture. On Sunday, we were driven from Panajachel to Rotary with a bit of a diversion caused by a rock slide. The highway we were on is prone to rock slides, especially during the rainy season. In Rotary, we were booked into IRTRA, the Spanish acronym that translates into English as Institute of Recreation for the Workers of Private Companies in Guatemala. As soon as we were registered at IRTRA, Clemmy, a local Rotarian, hopped into our van and guided us to a new part of IRTRA that she was very excited about. And this is what we saw: log houses built in trees, except that the trees and the log houses were all made of concrete. Our rooms were booked in IRTRA's Africa section called Nakuru. In the Africa section, there was this gigantic ceiba tree. They can grow up to 240 feet tall. Ceiba are the national tree of Guatemala, and they are sacred to the Mayans. While we had our evening meal in one of Irtra's restaurants, we saw several handsome peacocks like this one stroll by the fence right beside our table. On Monday morning, we were driven by local Rotarians to our first Ripple Effect supported school in the Rotalilu area, Holwitz. We received quite our welcome. And a big welcome sign at the school. The Ripple Effect program involves Rotary clubs in Canada and Guatemala. Translation of the program's theme is Building Schools, Changing the World. This old sign indicates that the Rotary clubs of Regina Eastview and Rotalilu built 3 new classrooms and refurbished the washrooms in Holwitz School back in 2008. Rotarians examined the new washrooms under the watchful eye of the school's principal. Toilets that look like this are a novelty in these parts of Guatemala. Students have to be taught how to use them. Holwitz School brought another issue to the Rotarians that they wanted help with, increasing the depth of this well to increase the amount of clean water for the school. A quick peek into the Holwitz School's kitchen. The Rotarians are checking out the new classroom that's being prepared to bring in computers from Fonsepa. Such a cute bunch of students at Holwitz School. The parting gift from the principal of Holwitz School was a bouquet of lychee fruits. Before leaving for the next school, Barrios, I took a picture of the area where Holwitz School is located. Barrios School is surrounded by a tall and sturdy wall to protect the teaching of respect, loyalty, and solidarity. At the school entrance, I noticed this unusual classroom wall about a meter inside that sturdy wall. This sign proclaims that Barrios School was built in 2015 by the Ripple Effect program with the support of 5 clubs in Saskatchewan, Rotary Club of Rotalilu, and CRCID, the Canadian Rotary Collaboration for International Development. We dropped into this classroom briefly at Barrios School. The third school we visited with Rotalilu Rotarians was Aguilar School. We were at Aguilar School during their recess, and these students were enjoying posing for pictures. In Aguilar School, mothers of the school children prepare a daily meal for the children, working with a 2-week menu. We took part in the Monday evening meeting of the Rotalilu Rotary Club. We learned that the club assigns Rotarians to check out and monitor up to 3 Ripple Effect school projects each. This told me that the club supports many more school projects than the 3 that we had visited. The next day we were driving to Cotopeque and saw these 2 guys on a motorcycle. The one on the back is holding on to a rifle. I guess that's what riding shotgun means in Guatemala. The following day, we visited Schwatu School with Rotarians from Cotopeque. Schwatu School had a big Welcome Rotary Club Ripple Effect sign at the back of a stage, and that was where all the visiting Rotarians and school staff gathered for a group picture. While Rotarians checked out the facilities at Schwatu School, some students were keeping an eye on the Rotarians. We were visiting Schwatu School during their lunch hour, and this was a very relaxed class. At Schwatu School, mothers sold snacks to the students at lunchtime. Schwatu School also has a computer classroom, thanks to Rotary. The last school we visited with the Lemaisters and local Rotarians was Belgica, where the Ripple Effect program, the Rotary Clubs of St. Boniface, St. Vital, and Cotopeque, Columba, as well as CRCID, had added a classroom in 2015. The Ripple Effect program was also involved in replacing the old toilet with modern washrooms at Belgica School in 2015. Here you see several Belgica students playing in their schoolyard during the lunch break. Rotarians were served lunch at Belgica School. That was different and appreciated. And Canadian Rotarians received Mayan souvenirs as gifts from our hosts. That's Deb LeMaistre chatting with some of the students at Belgica School. And yes, the Ripple Effect program is all about the Mayan children in Guatemala. The Ripple Effect program not only builds schools to change the world, but as we observed during our tour, they build additional classrooms, do projects to improve health and sanitation in the schools, get students familiar with computers even if they have no Wi-Fi in their communities, and financially support families to allow their children to continue going to school beyond grade 6. Ed and I appreciated the travel arrangements in Guatemala made by the LeMaistres. They enabled us to be part of their annual trip to evaluate the progress of existing Ripple Effect projects and plan future projects for Guatemalan children. It was an education. It was a memorable experience.
Thank you so much, Elaine. I think we all need to give a round of applause. That was an excellent video. You may have to be forced to join the Learning and Development Technology team. I know that Elaine and Gordon, Deb are always available for club meetings and presentations. So just give them a shout if you want them to come to your club. And thank you to everybody tonight for all that you do for Rotary, and particularly to our speakers tonight, to Lisa Cook from RI Rotary Fellowships, to Dave Bennet with Rotary Friendship Exchange, to David Newman and Bonnie Emerson with World Peace Partners and Peace Fellowships, to Pat Chinesky for Paul Harris Fellowships, and to Elaine with the Ripple Effect Tour in Guatemala. Another program that we have is vocational training teams. That can wait for another time. Of course, all of these are in abeyance because of COVID, but at least I hope that you got some excitement in thinking about the possibility of travel again within Rotary and meeting other people, other like-minded people who share our values all around the world. So I want to say thank you to everybody for joining us. I know it's a beautiful evening out there and you gave up your time. I hope that you can enjoy the good weather now. And in remembering our pre-program in terms of looking at what is happening in Kamloops, BC, I want you to all keep our Indigenous friends and neighbors in your prayers and in your hearts. Thank you very much, everyone, and good night.